Hey guys, this is the Gaming Nobodies podcast. I'm Father.
And I'm Oop My Downs.
And we're going to talk about various subjects in gaming and
things. Yeah. It's been a very long time since our last update. So we're going to try to start doing these on a weekly basis. Hopefully that actually works out.
Yeah, we're going to change the format a little bit. In the past we've had pictures with the video. We're going to remove that. It takes way too much time for us to do it.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut down. We're just going to have one static image. We're just going to upload this on Screw Attack and on YouTube. So, hello Screw Attack. Hello YouTube.
Yes, hello. So you're just going to have our lovely audio for this wonderful podcast.
Yes. So for those of you who have never heard us do this before,
pretty much we are two small YouTubers. I do mostly Resident Evil related news.
And I do Let's Plays.
So we decided to get together and start doing podcasts on various video game news. We usually cover at least one meta topic that kind of covers video games as a whole, but a lot of times we do choose topics that are kind of very contemporary and, you know, what's going on now, what's affecting games today.
Yeah, so we are, our name, the Gaming Nobodies, comes from the fact that we are nobodies in the gaming universe. We are just regular gamers.
Yes, we are very, very small YouTubers. Not many people know about us, so it's a very appropriate name.
Yeah. So, we should
let's get started with this. So our first topic that we want to talk about is actually the odd release dates that we kind of have. A little slow topic to start off with, but release dates in the gaming industry right now. Because really you have two major times when games come out, which first obviously is November, when you have Christmas right around the corner. A lot of people are buying games, and then you get another influx of buying games when Christmas actually happens. But then you have this weird time like February and March where a lot of games tend to come out.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest drought in video game releases is during the summer.
The summer, which to me, as when you look at the video game industry, obviously you see a huge demographic that is high school and college students. And obviously they have summers off, time when they have tons of time to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Mostly play video games for the gamers.
I mean, a lot of older gamers won't admit that the majority of the gamer, or they will admit, but begrudgingly they are not happy about this, that the majority of gamers are teenagers and college students. And I mean, there are a lot of older gamers, it's true, but the majority tends to be a younger audience. So they have, 2 to 3 months free over the summer where nothing comes out.
I mean, I'm sure all you gamers out there are feeling this right now because we just got through the summer and I didn't buy anything this summer. I bought Diablo. That's what I bought. Diablo came out. That's it.
There's a few games I bought. I bought Kingdom Hearts 3D.
Right.
Because that came out, and that's I was so surprised when I heard about the release date. I did not expect it to come out until November.
Right.
I bought.
But
Diablo
you played it a lot. You played it.
Yeah.
Because it came out in the summer because you have the time.
Yes.
And we expected it to come out at a time when maybe you wouldn't have had that time.
Yeah. And it's a great time. I bought it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know many Kingdom Hearts players, or at least people who have a 3DS. I know maybe 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, the 3DS, it's not hugely popular, at least not in our kind of circles that we run in.
But, I mean, imagine if there's a huge AAA title.
Yeah.
Like, the next Modern Warfare. I mean, a lot of people are sick of them, but let's say one of the big games that releases middle of the summer. Well, maybe
right at the beginning of the summer.
Beginning of the
talking
summer.
Like May, maybe early June.
Yes.
The amount that game would be played would be really, it would exceed any expectation.
Yes.
Because, I mean, right now when it comes out in November, yes, it's a good time, but people are in school.
Yeah.
You take them out of school and you give them free time. They're going to play it a ton.
Yes. And the problem is that the publishers are not thinking about the summer. They see the summer as being before November. November being the time where they're going to make the most money. But they like all the publishers have smaller titles that they release for some reason also around that time, or around January, February, and March.
Yep.
Where, at least for me in college, my biggest workload starts around March. I don't have time to play games in March.
None.
I don't really have time to play games in November until December once I'm done with school. But there are so many games that I can't even get to them all.
I mean, I've gone through 2 years of college, and I mean, every summer you come up to me like, oh, there's all these games that I haven't had time to play because they come out at these awkward times, and I go into the summer and I buy these games because
there's nothing else.
There's nothing else, but I would have bought them right away, and I would have played it a bunch.
And I mean, some people might think, well, if you're going to buy them during the summer, those games that released at those times during the summer, anyways, it doesn't make a difference. It does. You know why? Because the publishers, developers, the companies are seeing the sales, the first month sales. After a few months, they don't pay attention to how many copies they sell. So they're going to make their initial big amount of money within the first few months of the game's release, even the first few weeks.
Right. You want to bring as much money in right away.
Yes, because if you don't, your game is a failure. And because if people, for some reason, think that looking at game sales it gives an impression of how successful a game is. I don't like looking at game sales because it's very subjective. There are types of games that sell better than others. So there's a lot of games that will fall under the radar of a lot of people, mainly indie titles and smaller company games that are great games. There are some really good games out there that are by smaller developers or indie games that are freaking amazing. And there's a lot of people who do find them eventually. But they tend to fly under the title because people don't know about them, but they imagine and this is why there's great things like Steam. That
Steam.
Evil and great at the same time.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to use Steam as an example, you don't have to look any further than Steam Summer Sale.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one of the great reasons why Steam sells so well during the summer sale, other than the amazing prices, the fact that everyone has so much time to play all these games.
Yes.
So they make the excuse to themselves that they will buy them because they think they will play them because they have all this time. And so if you transfer that to just normal games releasing, you think, well, yeah, they would sell again.
Yeah, but it can't all be around the Steam Summer Sales. Actually, I just thought of another game that it was released this summer. It was a little bit later. It was Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs.
Great game. It's not for everyone. It's a kind of what I see it is. It's more like GTA than it is like Saints Row, but it's still a fairly silly game in many regards. The story is fairly serious for the most part, but there's a lot of silly things. I beat a guy to death with a fish in the game. That was beautiful. I mean, there's not many games. I think there was a Jackie Chan game on the PlayStation 1 where you could beat up people with fish.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's kind of just comes down to a lot of freedom within the game. But that's regardless.
But, I mean, imagine GTA 5. GTA 5 coming out during the summer. People would buy it. I mean, already people would buy it instantly anyways.
Right, exactly. No matter what, those games like that are going to sell very well, but in a game that's pretty much an open world sandbox type game like GTA, you need a lot of time to play those games, and you're giving people that amount of time. I mean, it's helpful for the gamers, but it's also helpful for sales. So, I mean, I don't fully understand why developers don't do it, and it's frustrating.
I feel like in the last few years there's been more. Because I remember a few years ago, I think I can't remember how long it was, but there was one summer I was dying of boredom. I had played literally all of my games.
The great drought of 2000 and something.
Yes, the something is important, but my point is,
I know what summer you're talking about. I forget the year, but I know exactly what summer you're talking about.
I know, and I'm sure.
I feel like it was around Dead Rising 1 or something. Where
something like that.
It was around that year.
It was something that was for, I play a lot of different types of games, which leads me to not always be able to finish all of my games. I finished all of my games that summer.
Yep.
All of them. And it's never happened since because mainly because of Steam summer sales, I have too many games. Because
you do have
you, Steam.
You have too many games. People can have a lot of games, you have too many games.
Yeah. The main problem is the huge packs that Steam does, where you can get 15 games from one developer.
Every game the developers has ever made.
That is worth like $300 and something for $100.
Yep, and you're just like, oh wow, that's a lot of money.
And essentially, what I did is like 1 year, like this was like I think the first year the Steam Summer Sales happened or something.
Yep.
And I saw all of those packs, and I pretty much got all of them that year.
Yeah, that was a good decision.
Or like I got it over like 2 years or something.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money that summer. I had a lot of money that summer. I don't always have that much money, but that summer I had a lot of money. Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't.
I just don't understand it. That's the biggest issue. I don't understand why.
And I mean, it's not a mystery. Like, this is not something new. This is something that's been a problem for a while, and also because the lengths of games have shortened significantly in the few years. Like,
oh, lots.
There are still long games. There are still like 30, 40 hour games, but it's a lot fewer, and that's because games are becoming more mainstream.
Right.
Like,
you've got a bigger casual market.
Yeah, there are games like Call of Duty, like Battlefield. I'm pretty sure at this point Assassin's Creed has been releasing one game every year.
Yeah, it has.
It
has since like maybe not since it released.
No,
pretty much.
Assassin's Creed 2 was like 2 or 3 years after.
Yeah, it took a few years, but yeah.
And it's one game every year. So when you're doing something like that, cutting down on the length of the game is generally okay. Like, I don't like short games. I like games to last. But since they're releasing one every year, it makes sense that they're cutting back from like length of games. Also, because it's hard to tell a story for 40 hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it makes sense. Like, I don't particularly like it,
right?
But I understand it. It makes sense. But they have so many games that they can release now that why don't they just manage their time more? Also, by the way, just in case you're hearing weird noises, I apologize. I'm in a new dorm, and they're very loud right now for some reason.
Those gosh darn kids always making the noises.
Oh god, yeah.
Okay, so talking about casual gamers actually kind of conveniently pushes us to our next topic, which I would like to introduce because this is actually something that affects me quite a bit.
More than me.
Yeah. So co-op and multiplayer in video games. Specifically on the topic of Dead Space 3. Now, I love Dead Space. I absolutely love the first one. I like the second one a lot. Not as much as the first one, but I really like those two games. And the moment I heard that they were adding co-op, this is kind of old news, but the moment I heard that they were adding co-op to Dead Space 3, I was just devastated. I mean, I love survival horrors. I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil. Anyone who watches my channel knows that. And I feel that survival horror relies a lot on the ability or the fact that you're alone. There's no one there to defend you. And so once you add co-op, and not even just multiplayer outside of the campaign, it's co-op throughout the whole campaign.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that fear, that worry that, you are completely alone goes away, and it takes away a lot of the horror.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Resident Evil 5. I mean, you have a series that was known for horror. There is nothing scary about Resident Evil 5.
There is nothing scary.
When you have two players with machine guns taking down the Magini, there is nothing that you're afraid of.
The only thing that could happen in a game like Resident Evil 5, you get low on ammo and you stress.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be stressful. But that is not scary.
Nope, not at all.
It was a franchise that built off of the ability to scare its players.
Yep.
And they've gone away from it.
They've gone completely away from it.
Sometimes that's a good thing. I think in this case, it is not. Because it's an action game. And when it comes to Resident Evil, I don't want to play an action game.
Nope. I mean, they're trying to advertise Resident Evil 6 like they've come back to the survival horror genre, but the simple fact of the matter is it's still completely co-op. There's 4 campaigns, only one is single player. The other 3 are co-op. And I know that it's going to be a dark and gloomy game with zombies, but I'm going to be sitting there with a Tuninator next to me, and we're going to be playing co-op, and I'm not going to be afraid of anything, because he's got my back.
Exactly.
I know he's got my back.
And it's not to say that multiplayer and co-op in all games is bad.
Yep.
So in some games, it's great. I was just thinking about the Uncharted series. They added the multiplayer in the second one. That multiplayer was so much fun. I had a lot of fun with that multiplayer. Now, it's not for everyone. Multiplayer isn't for everyone, obviously. Right. I'm not actually that big of a multiplayer guy.
Yeah.
Like, I like playing games co-op with my friends, but I don't spend a lot of time online in multiplayer matches. I do it from time to time depending on the game. Like
Right.
if it's a game that's really centered around multiplayer, like I've done my Call of Duty games, I've done my Battlefield games. I'm pretty much done with both series at this point. I still have a slight preference for the Battlefield series, and if they make another World War II setting game with the current Frosta engine that they have, I'll probably pick it up. It's just that like I can't. I don't want like
Yeah. I mean, the games have the ability to separate their multiplayer and their single player. You know, you look at something like Uncharted, but are also a great example that I always love bringing up is Assassin's Creed, which sounds like a game that wouldn't work with multiplayer.
Oh yeah,
that multiplayer was fun.
That was
I mean,
so
as many
much
issues
fun.
as I have with the Assassin's Creed series, I love that multiplayer. I didn't play it a ton, but whenever I played it, I was like, "This is so fun to play," and it didn't affect the actual campaign at all.
Yeah. If a game forces you into multiplayer when
In
it's
a genre that it doesn't work with.
Yes, that it doesn't work with. It's a problem. The great thing about the multiplayer and the co-op in Uncharted is that it's not there. It's not the game plus co-op. It's the game with this optional co-op and multiplayer. And I think there are games where they just tack on like something, or they think, well, maybe we should have multiplayer. Multiplayer games are so much more popular right now. And I think one of the biggest games that suffered from this was BioShock 2.
BioShock 2.
The multiplayer, I haven't played it personally, but I hear so many negative things.
It was so bad.
And I mean, this is kind of old news at this point. It's not like recent news. I don't know how old it is, but they removed, at the very least, some of the multiplayer modes in BioShock Infinite because they were just not fun to play. And I mean, we don't know if there's still multiplayer. For me, BioShock is not a game for multiplayer.
Right.
Maybe co-op if there is a separate co-op campaign, but even then, it's a game where you're alone. For me.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's not the kind of game that flows that way. Mostly because. You play a character that you almost want to feel is overpowered because you have both the, I don't know not magic, whatever the powers are. The name of the powers are.
I can't remember.
The drugs, massive drugs.
Drugs are good, kids.
And your weapons, you know, you play a lot of that game beating down people and, you know, electrocuting them and whatnot. And then when you all of a sudden add other people that can do that, it changes the feel and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a game for multiplayer. It's just not. There are games where multiplayer is great. Right. I mean, my favorite multiplayer game, Battlefield 1942.
1942 was amazing.
I love...
Absolutely an amazing game.
And I mean, I think there's something about the Battlefield series that they do so well with World War II games. Yep. When they did 1943, I absolutely love 1943. It uses the Bad Company 2 engine, I believe. If not the 2 engine, it's the 1. The Bad Company 1 engine, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I want a new Battlefield 1942 game.
I do.
I would play the hell out of it.
So we would play it so much.
Like, I never liked. Never been a big fan of modern shooters.
Right.
Like, I like sci-fi shooters or generally like World War II shooters. I don't like the feel and look of modern guns. Don't know why. I just don't.
I mean, it brings up, as a side note, it brings up an interesting point that if we were having this conversation maybe, 7 years ago, we'd be complaining about how many World War II shooters are, but now...
See, I never had that. Like, I never had the too many...
I was too young to really be able to complain about it, but, like, I remember, like, critics complaining about just the amount of World War II, and then we went into the modern genre, and we have too much of it.
Yeah, and I mean, now the critics are complaining about too much modern games, and I am too, mainly because I never really liked modern games to begin with. Like, I always loved World War II games. I love the whole... I'm a big history fan. I like history.
Yeah.
And World War II, when I was growing up, was one of the things that fascinated me the most. And I am really interested in World War II, and it also leads me to really like World War II games, especially if they're done well.
Yep.
And, I mean, that's not... the case everywhere, but I'm just a huge World War II game
But
fan.
when you look at games like Modern Warfare that are obviously hugely popular, you have Halo, which is hugely popular, you have these games that are so popular and they focus so heavily on multiplayer, that's where the source of our issue comes up with the whole co-op thing, is the fact that you have games like Dead Space is like, oh, well, we have this game, it sells pretty well, like, people do like it, but we know that just look at the statistics, multiplayer games sell better. You look at Call of Duty, multiplayer sells more.
Exactly.
So let's add multiplayer.
And I feel like they're getting too obsessed with multiplayer. Multiplayer is fine. They're, like I said, I like multiplayer games. They're fine. They're not perfect, obviously, because
they don't tell a good story a lot of times.
And that's my problem. I'm a sucker for story.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the games that I've played, even the bad ones, I played for the story.
Yeah.
Either just because I'm curious as to how the game ends, and I will suffer through the bad, like, poor mechanics. Even if the story isn't that great, I just want to know what happens, and I'm willing to put myself through this. I think this is one of the things that happened to me when I played Final Fantasy 13. It's not a good game. Like,
no,
it's not. It's press X to win.
It did sell the story very well, though.
Yes, it did. I enjoyed the story despite the fact that it was very cheesy and kind of lame.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it for the most part. It had some good parts, even with the terrible gameplay.
Yeah.
Like, boss fights were
pretty tough.
Boss fights was the highlight.
Yeah.
They
were tough. There were a few really difficult boss fights.
Yeah, and
nowhere near as difficult as some of the older Final Fantasies got. Not even anywhere near.
Difficult bosses. I've beaten Ozma. For those of you who don't know what Ozma is, play Final Fantasy IX. Try to beat Ozma. I beat him when I was 9. I've never beaten him since then.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, we're a game rarely ever can sell me with graphics or gameplay.
Yep.
Really, what generally sells me is the story.
Yep.
And co-op, separate co-op campaigns or games that are built around multiplayer can sometimes tell a good story. Yep. But for the most part, I mean, Left 4 Dead, great multiplayer game.
Yep.
There's no... there's kind of like a side story going on in Left 4 Dead, but it doesn't really tell a great story.
And that's why actually I didn't get it at first, because anything that didn't have a story feels kind of pointless to me. Not like completely pointless, because it can be fun playing, but I'm not the biggest fan of games that get really repetitive.
Right.
Like, I can't play Left 4 Dead for very long.
Right.
Like, I'll be able to play a few maps, but I can't play them again and again and again.
Nope.
I get bored really easily. Like, I don't like repetition in general. This is like in anything. Like, if it's in a show, in a movie, or in a book, I don't like it. It's the same for video games. I don't like repetition. There's some games where I'll put up with it because I'm having fun, or I'm doing it with my friends, and it's...
Dynasty Warriors, or repetition, everything's the same exact thing, but it's awesome.
Or, I mean, for me to some extent, Diablo 3 is very...
Diablo's fun to just kind of goof around in and talk with a friend, but by yourself...
repetitive, and I can't actually play it by myself. And so I play it with my downs all the time, and I've actually ruined the game for him. He can't play it alone anymore.
Yeah, I can, but it's really not fun.
It's boring.
It's really not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I played with a few people before we started playing, but then we started playing so much for that 1 week, and now it's just like, God.
Yep. I've ruined the game for him. I'm very proud of this. And there's games that are centered around multiplayer, and probably one of the biggest ones that people know right now is DayZ.
Yes, DayZ.
In my room, I have a map of Chernobyl. That is right there, hanging on the wall.
Yep, we can just look at it. Look at it, you dirty, dirty cheater.
Hey, I paid real money for this. I feel like it's like...
I paid real money for the fake map, man. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's kind of like a poster.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah, it's a game that doesn't have a story.
Not at all.
But it's fun to fool around in.
It is. Like, a lot of people complain about DayZ being so hard. Like, they get killed all the time. I don't care if I die in DayZ. Because, okay, I die, I lose all my crap. Okay, but I'll just start a new character, find new crap, and then go at it again. And then I'll get killed again, and I don't care. It's not about that. It's about the survival.
Yes.
And that's what's fun about the game. And, I mean, I've always felt when I was playing alone, once I got stuff, I stopped playing.
Yeah, it's boring. It is boring.
It is boring.
Because it doesn't have a story. story to drive you. And so DayZ, I mean, is at this point massively popular.
Oh yeah, and it's so much
it just
fun.
adds to the whole thing to developers that they know that their game will sell better with co-op. And it's we're at this really weird time where yes, your game will sell better, but a lot of times it won't please your hardcore fans. And a lot of I understand the developers in a sense. You know, if they're not one of the greedy, crazy developers, they are torn because it's like, okay, do we want to sell more copies and make more money, which obviously we do, but at the same time, there's going to be a ton of fans that are disappointed. They're still going to buy our game, but they're going to be disappointed. And, you know, when you have companies, Valve, right? Their motto is we only make games that we want to play.
Yeah.
That's their motto.
Something like that, I think. I'm not sure.
There's a company that has that motto. I'm pretty sure it's Valve.
Don't remember who.
No, it's either Blizzard, Valve, or Bethesda. It's one of those three. Regardless, though, you know, you have a lot of developers, obviously, might not be their company motto, but they do believe that. They like playing video games, so they want to make games that they want to play.
Exactly.
But at the same time, there's such this huge casual market that they have to make games that will sell, and we're at this really weird point, you know? DayZ, no story, whatever.
Most MMORPGs,
but it's going to sell.
Like, MMORPGs are also a great example, because they some of them have a story and they have like stuff. No one pays attention to it.
No.
Except if you're playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is a good game. And I played, I enjoyed it. The main problem with Star Wars: The Old Republic is once you finish the story, you feel like it's like with any like single player game, you don't really either you play a different like storyline, but you don't really keep playing it because you don't feel like you're playing an MMORPG. That's where its like weakness is.
There's
like,
no more drive after it.
Yeah, and I mean there's additions that they're adding to the game and stuff. And if you guys don't know, the game is going free to play later this year. It's already dropped the price to $15, which I don't know if the game itself will be free. I don't know. Probably will be, but essentially all I know is that they're dropping the subscription model, which I like. I think subscription models are of the past.
Yes, I do. I agree with that. I think free to play is something that's going to become more and more popular.
And marketplace, real money.
Real money to get in-game content.
Yeah.
So you get to play the game for free at first, and if you like it, you pay more money to get a better experience. Blah blah.
Or better stuff, or whatever.
Right.
And not necessarily better equipment.
The Zynga model, pretty much.
Yeah, and it works if people do it right. But
Zynga has done it very well.
Yeah. Although Zynga...
Yes,
I don't like Zynga.
There's Farmville sucks, but...
Let's not get into Zynga.
Makes a good amount of money. But that's regardless.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a very weird time with co-op and multiplayer, and who knows... I mean, I have a good feeling that it's just going to continue to grow and grow as a casual market, and we're just going to get more and more casual games, and I will grow further and further away from video games because of my intense resent, which I already see myself being affected by.
I mean, you're growing away from consoles already. I mean, the thing is, I think they're at a time where it feels a lot like it's going like this, but we're also at a strange time in video games where the consoles have been here for now, I think, a year too long, in my opinion.
That's a great point. Our consoles they're old. Xbox 360 and PS3, they're old.
I think the PS3 is, 7 years old or something? Or getting there, and the Xbox is 1 year older?
Yeah.
Something along those lines?
6 or 7, yeah. That's... Either way, they're old. They're too old.
Yeah, and we're getting the problem that now... And a lot of things linked to this is getting better. Like, PC games are getting their more solid builds. This is something that I've noticed with Sleeping Dogs. Yeah. I have the PC version. It is great. I love the PC version. I don't regret buying it one bit. But had I done this 2 years ago, but I don't know what game, Assassin's Creed 2, was that on PC as well?
I think it was.
I'm not sure if 2 was. Brotherhood was, for sure.
Okay.
So if I had bought Brotherhood 2 years, was that 2 years ago approximately?
Yeah, it was freshman year, so yeah.
Yeah, so approximately 2 years ago, on PC, it would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I mean,
bought.
Look at Skyrim a year ago. The PC model, how much they screwed over the PC model.
Yeah.
With the Xbox.
Yeah. I bought Revelations, Assassin's Creed Revelations, on the PC. It actually runs really well.
Okay.
Which I was surprised. I
I hate Revelations.
I know you do, but
may it burn.
Regardless of that, I'm using a controller, but it runs super smoothly. Just Cause 2 is another one actually, that's a pretty old game at this point.
I mean, currently my video games that I'm playing all PC games.
Yeah.
And one PlayStation 2 game.
Yep.
From like 2001. Like, modern consoles they're literally not doing it for me because they are so casual based, and I'm such like I'm gonna get Resident Evil 6, I'm excited about it, but I know when I'm done with that playthrough, I'm just gonna be like, why did I play it? It was so bad, because I know it's gonna be casual, it's gonna disappoint me, and I'm gonna bitch about it on my YouTube all day.
Yeah, look forward to that.
Yes. Okay, have we beaten this to death yet? Or do you have more to say?
If I have more, I'll come back up to it later.
Okay, so the final thing that we want to talk about, which is very much
a problem,
an issue.
It's a big issue.
It's been an issue for a long time. It's been issues for other things. It's essentially the reputation that video games have in the media because of violence.
We should also add not just not video game media, but like the popular media, like.
How video games
CNN,
are being
Fox News, all of that.
Right, represented in the popular culture.
Yeah. The main thing that these people are saying is that violent video games are making our kids violent. They're making children, want to be they're making them aggressive.
It's pretty much the same argument that people had against jazz music when it first came out.
Yeah, and also it's the same thing that they've had against comic books.
Rap music.
D&D.
For some reason,
yeah,
D&D.
D&D is like something satanical, apparently.
Apparently.
I mean, I'm not a Satan worshiper.
I've never played it.
I played D&D. Yeah, no. Anyways, so the way people are talking about games in the media, there's generally been two big things: the violence and sex.
Yes.
What the second one
it doesn't come up as much.
It doesn't come
really
up as much.
Come up as
it
much.
has come up on occasion.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, was it?
That was something that was removed.
That was removed, but people found it, and it was a big issue.
There was a Mass Effect sex scene. There was something that Jeff Keighley from Spike TV /GameTrailers.com that went on Fox News to defend Mass Effect because it had sex scenes in it.
Yeah.
The way, especially that one, I watched the interview. They had a feminist, and they kept I'm not a big Jeff Keighley fan.
Okay.
I don't know him very well. Like, I've seen him in a few things. He's fine, but I don't dislike him. I don't particularly like him either. He does his job fairly well. Yeah. But I'm not a big fan of Spike and of Game Trailers. I like Game Trailers for some things, but only some very specific things. However, the way these people were talking about the game made it seem like you were just having sex left and right with every woman.
Everything that moved.
And that you were just like, they didn't even know you could create a female character in the game.
No. I mean, most of these media centers that are talking about video games know nothing about the video games. They've never played them.
What I really liked, one of the things that he said in that interview was, have you played the game? And the person said, no. If you haven't played it, you can't talk about it. You have to know from first-hand experience, or at the very least, understand how it got there.
Yeah. And, I mean, these media, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just trying to find some kind of scapegoat that they can go... Because there's always been scapegoats that the media has always gone after.
I mean, the biggest one right now, and it has been for a really long time, is video games.
Yes.
Because it's such an easy target.
Yes, it is.
Because there's a lot of things wrong with the video game, like video game world and everything. Like, there is bad portrayal of women. There's bad things in general.
But it's also because it allows you to create a theoretical character that you control. Essentially, the same idea of being able to put your face on something else and go around and kill people under your own control, and that's concerning to people.
And for the most part, it's understandable.
I understand the initial shock.
That violent video games, like the logic is understandable. However, it is wrong.
Yes.
It is not the game. that will make the person
It's not
violent.
the developer's fault. It's not the
And it's
game's
also
fault.
not the developer's fault. It's not the game's fault.
Nope.
It is there's multiple parts to this. It is the environment the person is living in.
Yep.
Their psychological state.
Yep.
And like how they perceive things, you know, if they are good at discerning what is real and what isn't. So if they have known psychological issues, if they have problems, these people should not play violent video games.
Right.
Because they have a hard time discerning what is real and what isn't, and what is good, like, okay to do, and what isn't.
Right.
However...
But they don't have the ability to do that.
Yes. However, from my own experience, I have played violent video games pretty much my entire life. I played GTA 3 when it came out. I was young then. And, I mean, I had lots of fun with it. I thought it was a fun game.
I was playing Turok 2 in kindergarten. I went back and played Turok 2 last year. I was like, oh my god, what was I... This is ridiculously violent.
And, I mean, I was not shocked.
Nope.
And I hate... You know what I hate the most? Really gory movies.
Yep.
I can't watch them. They gross me out. And I can't watch them. I can play really gory video games... because it's ridiculous. It doesn't feel real. And even the most realistic looking game doesn't feel real to me.
No. I mean, we haven't got... Yeah, exactly. Because because you have the ability to look at a game and say, this isn't real. This is all theoretical. This is all imaginary. None of this actually exists.
Yes.
So that's what allows you to separate, you know. But media, they look past that completely. They just... see, okay, there's violence here, so it must make you violent. And they bring up some stupid study from some scientist that says, oh, well, this makes you violent because there's violence in it. And what they always seem to lack, you know, they always seem to miss or never mention is the fact that, I mean, we understand how stars work more than we understand how the brain works. The brain is still a complete mystery. Biologically, we understand all electricity flowing through it, but like how our consciousness works and personality and emotion.
We have a certain understanding of it, which is actually fairly good, surprisingly, because it's so complex.
Right.
But it's nowhere near perfect. We make discoveries every year about these things, and it changes every year because there's so much of it.
Psychology is still very much an inexact science. You know, it's not exact. You know, so you can't just put the same thing in a group of people, and you won't always get the same results because everyone is very different. They take in information differently, and they react to it very differently.
And sometimes it's linked to the background they come from, their environment. But like Ugma Downs and I, we come from very different backgrounds. I'm European. I've lived in Europe my entire life. I moved to the U.S. 2 years ago for college.
I'm American. American.
And I mean, you've grown up in a different type of place.
Whole different town, whole different education system, very different parents, very different siblings, very different life experiences.
However, we have so much in common, so many ideas that are exactly the same. Whereas you could have two people from the same background that would be completely different.
Right.
Everything is different for everyone.
Despite having very different backgrounds, we have the same exact reaction to violence in video games. It doesn't affect us. It doesn't make us violent people. So you can bring up these studies saying that there's supposedly evidence for violence, but there really isn't. It's all just down to the psychology, and it's so unfortunate that video games get such a bad rap from the media, because then parents start going after video games and kids aren't allowed to play them, and it's not fair to a lot of people.
And I mean, I watched this show. This was a few years back. It was a show on YouTube. I don't remember what it's called, but it was this guy who essentially showed how violence in video games actually doesn't affect people as much as people are saying. They showed this family where this, I think, like 7 or 8 year old child was playing Modern Warfare 2 or like the original Modern Warfare. I can't remember which. And they brought the child to a gun range to fire. I'm pretty sure it was an automatic rifle. But it was. I mean, they made sure that it was, that they were helping him. After he shot the weapon, the kid started crying because it's so different to actually hold a weapon, actually feel what it does, the power of it, then to have a controller or mouse and keyboard, something like that, it doesn't feel real.
Right. I mean, and you're also looking at a computer screen. These targets that you're shooting at, they're not real things. You're not actually hurting anyone.
Yes, you're simulating it, but it's fake.
Right. And that's what the media just looks past.
Yes. And the whole complaint that, kids will get the violent video games, that, again, not the developer's fault, not the publisher's fault, not the game's fault. If the game store sells the game to a young kid, that's the game store's fault. I agree.
Yep.
If the parents buy the game, it's the parents' responsibility.
It's the parents' responsibility to know who their child is well enough to know how to buy games for them.
Exactly. And it's the excuse that I've heard most often is the kids will get their hands on the games anyways. That can be true, but it's not always true. And also, if they do, you have to look at how they got the game, not, the game. Who's making it? Yeah.
It's not their fault. The developers have the full right to make these games. They shouldn't be stopped just because someone else didn't do their job right.
Yeah, and we have a rating system for a reason.
Yes.
There's the M, R, T, E, and E, like E10 or E12 or something like that.
All those various fun things. In
Switzerland we have like 18, 16, I believe 10 or 12 or something, and 8.
Oh, okay. That's odd. But
8 is odd. I'm not sure.
I don't know what the difference between 8 and 10 are for people, but hey, whatever.
I can't remember very well. To be honest, I haven't bought a game in Europe.
I'm not a psychology major.
I haven't bought a game in Europe in over 2 years, so I haven't seen the rating in so long. And I'm pretty sure any of the games I would actually have to go to the store for would generally either have a 16 or an 18 rating, mainly because my console games tend to be fairly violent.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so unfortunate that the media goes after it because they're not that bad.
No.
They're really not.
No, and it's all, what games have done to me, like the way I use games to relax a lot of the time, like to take stress off of me, like just
I pay attention to them for the stories.
Yeah, clear my mind. It's a good way to distract myself from all of what I have to do, like work and stuff. Like if I'm really stressed after like a day here at school, I'll just play a game for like a half hour or something, and then I'll do my work.
Exactly.
Just clear my mind. Yep. Do work. I'm good.
It's good for that. It's great for that, but media doesn't care. They just want to look right past that because they need a scapegoat. And
And it's horrible. All of these things that are blamed on video games, the shootings, all these violent things, and there are some of these guys that were playing video games, but it's not the game. It's the freaking psychological issues that these people had to begin with. Yeah. And I don't buy that anyone who's willing to shoot up like an entire
actual people,
is in their right mind.
To start with, no, not at all.
I don't buy it.
Violence, people being violent just randomly towards others, isn't a new thing.
No.
It's been around forever.
Yes.
Long before video games, long before simulated anything. It's just, people are violent.
Yes.
People are very violent, and some are also crazy. And then you combine those, and they kill people.
Yes.
And it's sad, and it's awful, but you're blaming the wrong people. Unfortunately, that's just how it is.
And this is something that if you're into politics, this is not something that's coming from just one side of politics. This is from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like like a lot of politicians say this.
Yeah.
And if you're in the US, it's Democratic, Republicans, both sides talk about this just the same, just as badly. And
I remember, it was years ago, but I remember Hillary Clinton was going after video games really hardcore.
Yeah, and she's a hardcore Democrat.
Yeah, and you would think that just off of bias that Republicans would be more after it, which they also are.
I'm pretty sure it's split in that too.
No, it is
probably. I don't know what most of the American politicians, or actually any politician, generally thinks of video games. I think there is a website After I'll put it up in the description.
Okay.
That allows you to look at what policies in U.S. law that is, or whatever, like Congress and whatever other things that you guys have and use Americans and your
What does the website do?
It lets you know what affect, like what's happening that would affect video games in what states or what area you're in, and what like stances whatever person that's supposed to represent you has on video games.
And whatnot. Okay.
And I try to find the website. I'm not sure if I'll be able to, because it's been a while since I've heard of it. But that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean it's good to know who's representing you. I mean,
and I mean if they don't agree with you, be active. Like send letters. Don't send angry letters. Those don't help.
Those are just made fun of. They're thrown out.
They make things worse.
Yep.
They don't prove our point. We can't just show like the worst problem that we have is actually, ironically enough, our biggest problem is the internet and anonymity.
Yep.
Like the anonymity just makes people so comfortable that they just insult everything and everyone, and send anonymous letters to politicians threatening them with death because they said video game violence was bad.
Which is not, it's counterproductive.
And I mean, really. I think the best example I can think of is Jack Thompson, who was a lawyer who was trying to stop video game violence completely, who actually broke, I don't exactly know what happened, but he lost his license because he did something stupid, which is dumb on his part.
Right.
But, like, he got so much hate mail, so much death threats and stuff like that. Please don't do that. That's bad. That proves their point.
Yes, it does. That's all it does.
It only helps to strengthen their argument. Yes, we understand that you're upset, that you're angry about what these people are saying because they're misinformed. They don't understand what's really going on. However, just getting angry at them is just helping them. It's just putting fuel on the fire.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
we don't want that.
With how bad of a reputation video games already have,
that's pretty much the worst thing we can do right now.
Right.
And the problem is the reputation. The main problem is a lot of the angry people tend to be younger.
Yep.
And they're the loudest.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure there are also older video gamers that are very angry and stuff. I'm sure they exist, but I'm pretty sure they're less common.
Yep.
I don't want to just generalize and say it's all, them kids being all angry on Modern Warfare. No, I mean, that's not what it is. There are people who are legitimately angry people who will just yell and rage about everything.
Yep.
But this is not what it's about. You just need to realize that it's making things worse.
Yep.
So if you're one of these people who sends, letters to your local politician, hate mail and stuff like, please stop. Please. Dude, you're not helping. Stop.
Yeah, I mean, if games were just if they had a better reputation within the media, developers would be given so much more freedom.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all this hate towards video games doesn't help it at all. I like to bring up the example of Resident Evil 5, which supposedly, and this is really just rumored, that the partner to Chris Redfield was originally going to be Claire Redfield, but because of all the hate surrounding racism, they had to change it to a black protagonist, Sheva, who still no one likes. People would have liked the game a lot better if we had had an actual character like Claire.
And I mean, even that, I don't know this for sure. This is something that I heard a while back on another podcast that I follow. It's what they said at the time was that this one, I think he's a journalist. I've seen him talk around. I like him a lot. He's African American. He said something along the lines of the fact, like, just in the
fact
world,
that a corporation sent in a white guy
to essentially what looks like just on the surface, it looks like he's killing a lot of black people.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Just company send a white guy to kill black guy.
It made him uncomfortable. He's not saying that the game is racist. It had some very racist parts with the
the tribal, the Africans, but you also have to look at the series as a whole, where like you also do the game before where you just killing a bunch of Spaniards, and the games before that essentially you killed exclusively white people. There's very few black people killed. It's not about racism; it's just about where it's set.
Yeah, I mean, it is set in Africa, which has a ridiculous majority of black people.
Yeah,
and that's just how it is.
Yeah,
and the thing is, you have to take into account the setting.
Right.
The setting of things is so important before you start getting angry about some reason XY that something isn't in a video game. Take a step back. Look at what the setting of the game is. A good example to use is the attempted rape of Lara Croft in the new game.
Right.
The thing that offends me about that is not the fact that there is an attempted rape scene in the game.
No.
If I'm okay with that. Rape is bad. As long as it's not portrayed in a good light, like it's a good thing to rape people, no. It's a bad thing. Don't do it. Don't rape people.
Gaming Nobodies, where you get very good life advice.
Yes. Don't rape people. It's bad.
Oh, God. Okay.
Anyways,
so, the point.
The fact that it's in the trailer is bad. It's not directly glorifying rape, but it's not necessary it's not necessary to have it in the trailer.
Either way, though, you have negative media around it, and developers are forced to change their game to a worse product because of this hate, this ungrounded hate, which is why I brought up Resident Evil 5, because it had ungrounded hate, and the game had to be made worse.
Yeah,
essentially,
and
it's frustrating. It's the same thing is going to happen, or it has happened essentially with media going after video games. Developers had to be more careful. They can't get away with things, so they have to make inferior products.
Yep.
And so there's no way to really fight the media because it is the media. It's
so powerful and
it controls so much more than we really understand.
Yeah.
But if the media were to be more lenient with games or go after games less or just go after something else, video game developers would have so much more freedom to do what they want, and games would literally be better.
And I mean, a great way to see that is indie games. Indie games get so much less publicity.
Yep.
And they have so much more freedom. There's a lot of bad indie games because they're smaller developers.
But there's so many good ones.
Yeah, there are so many great ones. I mean, at this point, Minecraft is almost not seen like an indie game, but it is originally an indie game.
Yep.
It's an indie developer. Yep. They're not a big, it sold so much. It's a great game. It is so much fun. And
it was able to take off because it's outside of the media.
And there are so many more games
and
like
other
that.
reasons, but whatever.
Yeah, there's
a lot of reasons why Minecraft was so good, but
it's essentially.
But that's on average why indie games will do well, because they are outside of the restrictions of mainstream media coverage.
They have freedom. Also, they don't have the pressure of making a AAA game.
Yep.
So that is so helpful for them.
Yeah, they also don't have to worry about multiplayer co-op like in our past things that we were talking about. They don't have to worry about those things.
They don't, because they're free to do whatever they want.
Yes.
Okay. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have we beaten those horses to death?
I'm pretty sure we have.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, Doodlers. So that was our first attempt back at Gaming Nobodies. I hope you liked this. If you didn't, we're only going to get better because we haven't done this in a while. We're going to get a more solid system.
If you have any ideas of things we could talk about, leave a comment.
Please, do that. We love getting things. We're going to try to do these every week. Hopefully Saturdays, maybe Sundays. They'll be released. Weekends.
We'll probably try to record them on Saturdays, and it'll probably be up by Sunday.
Yeah.
This one is probably going to be
in the middle of the week.
This is Wednesday. We're recording this. I'll try to have it up
Thursday.
Today, actually.
Okay, today. That would be awesome.
If I can't get it up today, it'll be up on Thursday for you guys, and we'll record our next one on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that one will be up on Sunday. Most likely, because we're trying to get in a regular schedule, and since we haven't done one in a while,
Right.
We're doing this one now.
To just get going.
Yes.
Because we only have so much time.
Yes.
But yeah, so hopefully we'll start doing these. They'll just get better. We'll just leave comments. Tell us what you want us to talk about.
What you liked, what you didn't like. Your thoughts on what we just talked about.
Yeah, that's also great.
We're gonna try to pay attention to the comments. We'll gladly have conversations with you guys in the comments.
Yep.
If you have any questions, concerns, comments, let us know.
Yes.
Like, subscribe to us on Screw Attack
YouTube,
and on YouTube.
YouTube. I probably won't be commenting back on comments on YouTube under Gaming Nobodies. I'll probably just do it under the name Oop My Downs.
And I will be probably doing it under Father's Bane.
Yeah.
I will be posting this on Screw Attack under the username Father.
Yeah.
That is my Screw Attack account. And so just if you want to find me on Screw Attack, just find us there. If you're on Screw Attack, you can find us on YouTube.
Yep. Just Oop My Downs.
And Father's Bane, generally they'll get you
where you need to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do Resident Evil related things if you're interested in Resident Evil.
Yeah, I've been doing a heavily modded Skyrim Let's Play. I have
Not recently.
Not recently. You are exactly correct. I will be getting back to this, and once Borderlands 2 releases, I will be doing a Let's Play of that with the Tuninator, and I don't care what he says, I will get him the game if I have to.
But okay, yeah, I think we've said all we needed to say,
yep.
And yeah, so
we'll see you guys.
Hopefully
on Sunday.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
All
See you around.
See you guys.
Bye,